What's up, 12th Cab? Another day of PT with Sergeant Ashaw and Sergeant Talamantes. So let's get started. So today we're going over day 3, which is lower body push and pull exercises. In other words, leg day. So before we jump into leg day, I just want to go over some of the fundamentals that we talked about in the actual initial video. All right, so first thing I'm going to talk about is our posture. We want to create that neutral, strong spine the entire time. So tighten your core, tighten your glutes, tighten your shoulders a little bit. You can relax them, but make sure they're drawn back and relaxed lower, in a lower position or down, not up here, but down here. This is going to help neutralize that spine and keep it nice and strong throughout the exercise. Next, we're going to go into actually making sure that our shins are in line with our back when we do our squat or our deadlift. For instance, if I go down to my deadlift, I'm going to make sure that my back is basically generally in line with my shins. So if I have to come up a little bit, I'll come up. Everybody's anatomically different, so this might work for some people better than others, or it's just going to take some mobility and flexibility training for yourself. But it's good to look in the mirror and make sure this stuff is happening. Next, we're going to go into how we bend our knees. So when we bend our knees, they're going to bend at the same angle that our toes are pointed at, or that's the healthy way of bending our knees. So if I'm in a deadlift position, I can keep my feet at about shoulder width, maybe just our inner heels are lined up with our shoulders, okay? And then once we bend our knees, they're gonna bend the same way my toes are pointed, which is forward. You come out a little bit, but what you don't wanna do is come in, all right? Next, we are gonna go into when our tailbone wants to curl in squats, okay? We don't wanna go so low that it's going to curl in and compromise the strength of the spine by pulling those vertebrae apart. So for instance, when we squat, get into a nice goblet squat here, tighten the glutes, tighten the core, make sure my back is straight. When I come down, it's gonna be a point where I go so low that my tailbone starts to curl inwards. We do not wanna get to that point. We wanna get to the point where our knees and our hips are about parallel, and where it almost just starts to curl towards the heels and then come back up. Make sure your feet are flat when you come up. You shouldn't be lifting your heels or your toes anytime during a squat or a deadlift. Day 3, lower body push and pull is gonna be a warm up with a jump rope or jogging in place or your bicycle. And you're gonna do the prep drill, the deadlift, goblet squat, single leg deadlift, step ups, 4 for the core, and I'm gonna end it with the recovery drill. So for some improvised weight, I have my small rucksack and I have a 6-pack of a bottle of water. So what I like to do, stuff it in. This gives me some fairly stable weight for my small rucksack. And I am going to use this for the deadlift and possibly the goblet squat or the bent over row or anything that I need some decent amount of weight for. I want to demonstrate some bad ways to do the deadlift, some things that might make you fail on the ACFT and cause injuries, lower back, spinal injuries. So something that's gonna hurt you is when you compromise your back and you go to pick it up and you use your lower back in that arch to pull everything up and then do this exaggerated hip thrust to rest the weight. That is not helping you, all right? If you need to pick the weight up with the form and technique that I'm showing you so that you can not risk getting injuries. Another example of doing this wrong is when you come down to grab the load and your head's up. You don't want to keep your head up. You want to keep that spine straight as possible. You can look up slightly, but really you want to just focus on keeping that spine straight the entire time. Wrong is when you come down, look up, and you're looking up the entire time. Try to keep that spine in line the entire time, looking a couple feet up in front of you. Next exercise we're gonna do is the goblet squat. You can do this with no weight. Just have your hands in front of you, but basically it's like you're holding a chalice or a goblet in front of you with a little bit of weight to it. Today, I have a bottle of detergent. Works out perfect, a little bit of weight, and it's easy to hold without dropping it. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna align my posture, make sure I'm good to go. I got a strong spine, shoulders are back and low. I'm gonna tighten my glutes and my core. I'm not gonna crunch at the core, I'm just tightening that inner abdominal wall. Next thing we're gonna pay attention to is our footing. If you'll notice, my feet are actually, my toes are pointing outwards. My toes are pointing outwards because that places my femur when we actually do the squat. It actually moves my femurs to the outside of my hip, which allows me to get a little bit deeper and doesn't hit the lower portion of my hips. If we keep our knees straight and our toes straight, we can't go down as far because our femurs actually hit the bottom of our hips. So keep your feet pointed out enough so it's comfortable. You don't want them way out, but just comfortably out a little bit so our knees follow our toes and our femurs will follow our knees. All right, as we're coming down, we're gonna make sure again that our glutes and our core is tight, our shoulders are back and low. And now we're gonna break at the hip, not the knees. Coming down, make sure that your spine is straight. You don't want your head up. You want your head straight down, a couple feet in front of you, so that you don't compromise that strong spine. Last thing I want to talk about is your tailbone. When you come down and you come down too low, you'll notice that my tailbone starts to curl up underneath my body. There has to be a point where you stop, which is about when your thighs are parallel to the ground. Otherwise, when you come this low, you're compromising the strength of your spine when your vertebrae start coming apart. So, shoulders back, core tight, squeeze the glutes, come down, keeping that neck neutral, not coming down too low. Breathing on the way up, suck it in on the way down, thighs parallel. For the next exercise, we're gonna be doing the single leg deadlift. This is going to challenge your coordination and balance. As you'll see, it will actually challenge me. All right, first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna start out with our hands on our hips. Make sure those shoulders are back and low, that spine is straight, keeping our chin down. One of the hardest parts of this exercise is making sure you keep your chin down and do not look up as you come down. So we're gonna reach our hands in front of us and bring our right leg back. At the same time, nice and slow, trying to keep that back straight, making sure I keep my chin low and my toe is bent at a 90-degree angle. Come back up, hands on hips, and I'm gonna do the next leg. I'm trying to bring that leg up as my upper body goes down at the same time. That is one rep. Left leg, then right leg. Again, this is gonna challenge your coordination and it's gonna challenge your balance. Keep it up and you'll get better. Next exercise is the step up. Step up's very simple. You wanna find something about 15 to 24 inches high. This chair works out perfect. I have it set against the wall so it stabilizes the chair. And if I lose my balance, I can go ahead and throw my hand up on the wall to stabilize myself. Now the way this rep works is you're gonna step up with your left foot, then bring your right foot up, then bring your right foot down, and then your left foot down, and then you're gonna swap legs. Right foot up, left foot down, right foot down. All right, so whatever leg you lead off with is gonna be the last leg that comes off the chair. For instance, getting started here. Swapping legs there. Back to my left side. Back to my right side. Notice I'm not jumping. I'm not trying to jerk it. I'm not going too fast. I'm just nice, slow, steady pace. So I'm keeping everything safe. I'm keeping my back straight. And I'm just working out these leg muscles, getting them engaged, stepping up and stepping down. Next, we're gonna do 4 for the core. First one is the bent leg raise. So right now I'm taking my hands and I'm actually putting my knuckles up to eat up the space between my lower back and the ground. I do not want my back just flat on the ground. This is gonna help create an arc so that when my legs are raised, it's gonna put more emphasis on my core to stabilize my legs. So, without further ado, for 1 minute, you're gonna begin, bring your knees up and then down. And you're gonna hold this position, keeping that tension on your lower back with those knuckles, keeping that arc there for 1 minute. And when you're done, you're gonna bring your knees back, up, and then set your feet down. All right, the next exercise is gonna be the side bridge. Your side bridge, pretty simple. You're gonna cross your legs at the bottom there, and you're gonna make sure your upper leg is actually the leg you're gonna be resting your weight on. As you can see, when I come up, my weight is on that top leg, but the foot is on the bottom because I've crossed my legs over, and I don't have it flat on the ground. You can hyperextend your ankle that way. So keep it at an angle, all right, like that knife edge of your shoe or your foot. Another thing that we're gonna be doing is keeping our arm that is not on the ground on our stomachs, keeping our core nice and tight. You can kind of feel it. When we come up, ready to begin, what we wanna do is think of a T. Think of a line going straight down your body and then a T across your shoulders. And we're just gonna hold this position for 1 minute straight. Once we're done with this one, we're gonna switch sides and then you're gonna do a minute on the other side. Now we're doing the back bridge. The back bridge is bringing those hips up, trying to line up your hips with your shoulders. Your heel and your toes are gonna be at a 90-degree angle. And then every 5 seconds, we're gonna swap legs. Doesn't have to be fast, doesn't have to be sharp. And what happens is the longer the exercise goes, the more your hips start to sag, that leg comes down or up. And we just wanna try to keep everything aligned with our knees, hips, shoulder blades the entire time as we swap our legs every 5 seconds. So your arms are gonna be at a 45-degree angle on your sides. Head's gonna stay up. We're gonna come up and begin. Bring those hips up. And after 5 seconds, you're gonna switch position or change position. Trying to keep those hips up the whole time. Try to stay conscious of your hips staying up and those knees staying in line with one another. You're gonna do that for 1 minute, switching those legs every 5 seconds. These are called 4 for the core for a reason. And the quadruplex is the last exercise of 4 for the core, and it is going to challenge your balance. So basically, you're gonna get on all fours, okay? You want your knees to come underneath your hips, and you want your hands underneath your shoulders. Your hands should be spread apart. Those middle fingers should be pointed in front of you. Keeping that back straight. You're gonna lift your left leg in your right hand. And what you wanna do is keep that heel pulling towards the back and those fingertips pulling forward. And if you wanna challenge yourself, you wanna keep your core tight, pull your hand towards your knee, and you will feel your core tighten up even more. After 1 minute of that, you're gonna switch positions. You're gonna lift that right leg up, lift that left arm up. Feel like your arm is pulling your body forward, your leg is pulling your body back like it's gonna rip it apart. And then at the same time, that hand that's on the ground, you're gonna consciously try to move it towards your knee, and that will tighten up your core really good. Make sure your toes are pointed down and your ankle's at a 90-degree angle. You do that for another minute, and then you're done with 4 for the core. So after your 4 for the core, you're gonna get into that recovery drill. And once you're done, this concludes day 3, your leg day. And have a wonderful 12th cab COVID-19 free day.